Hulwan, one of the chief towns in the western Iranian province of Media, was a metropolitan province of the Church of the East between the 8th and 12th centuries, with suffragan dioceses for Dinawar, Hamadan, Nihawand and al-Kuj. Hulwan was ranked among the exterior provinces, so called to distinguish them from the province of the patriarch and the five core Mesopotamian interior provinces. Background: a number of East Syrian dioceses in Iran existed by the beginning of the 5th century, but they were not grouped into a metropolitan province in 410. After establishing 5 metropolitan provinces in Mesopotamia, Canon 21 of the Synod of Isaac provided that the bishops of the more remote dioceses of Fars, of the islands, of Beth-Madeh, of Beth-Razikaye and of the country of Abshar must accept the definition established in this council at a later date. By the end of the 5th century there were at least 3 East Syrian dioceses in the Sasanian province of Media in western Iran. Hamadan was the chief city of Media, and the Syriac name Beth-Madeh was regularly used to refer to the East Syrian diocese of Hamadan as well as to the region as a whole. Although no East Syrian bishops of Beth-Madeh are attested before 457, the reference to Beth-Madeh in Canon 21 of the Synod of Isaac probably indicates that the diocese of Hamadan was already in existence in 410. Bishops of Beth-Madeh were present at most of the synods held between 486 and 605. 2 other dioceses in western Iran, Beth-Lashpar and Masibadan, seem also to have been established in the 5th century. A bishop of the deportation of Beth-Lashpar was present at the Synod of Dardasho in 424, and bishops of Beth-Lashpar also attended the later synods of the 5th and 6th centuries. Bishops of the nearby locality of Masibadan were present at the Synod of Joseph in 554 and the Synod of Ezekiel in 576. Because of its origins in a mass deportation of Roman Christians, the diocese of Hulwan was probably more populous than that of Hamadan during the late Sasanian period. Media became a metropolitan province of the Church of the East during the reign of Isho-Yhb II, and its metropolitans sat at Hulwan rather than Hamadan. In 893 Elia of Damascus listed Hulwan as a metropolitan province, with suffragan dioceses for Dinawar, Hamadan, Nihawand and al-Kuj. Al-Kuj cannot be readily localized, and has been tentatively identified with Karaj Dabudula. Little is known about these suffragan dioceses, except for isolated references to bishops of Dinawar and Nihawand, and by the end of the 12th century Hulwan and Hamadan were probably the only surviving centers of East Syrian Christianity in Media. Around the beginning of the 13th century the metropolitan see of Hulwan was transferred to Hamadan, in consequence of the decline in Hulwan's importance. The last known bishop of Hulwan and Hamadan, Yohanan, flourished during the reign of Elia III. Hamadan was sacked in 1220, and during the reign of Yahya III was also in more than one occasion the scene of anti-Christian riots. It is possible that its Christian population at the end of the 13th century was small indeed, and it is not known whether it was still the seat of a metropolitan bishop. The diocese of Hulwan, the bishop Hatita of the deportation of Beth-Lashpar, was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Dardasho in 424. The bishop Brikhoy of Beth-Lashpar was one of 11 named bishops listed in the Acts of the same synod as having been reproved at the synods of Isaac in 410 and Yahya in 420. The bishop Nuh of Beth-Lashpar was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Acacius in 486. The priest and secretary Ahai was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Babai in 497 on behalf of the bishop Aaron of Beth-Lashpar. The Bishop Usai of Hulwan adhered by letter to the Acts of the Synod of Joseph in 554. The Bishop Shuba of Beth Lashpa was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Ezekiel in 576. The Bishop Barnun of Hulwan was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Ishoyhbi in 585. The Bishop Bahad Shaba of Hulwan was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Gregory in 605. The Metropolitan Syrian of Hulwan was abusively consecrated patriarch in 751 halves. The Bishop Stephen was appointed for Hulwan by the Patriarch Sargus. The Bishop Ishoyhbi of Susa was appointed Metropolitan of Hulwan by the Patriarch Yohanan III immediately after his consecration on 15 July 893. The Metropolitan Yohanan of Hulwan was one of 3 metropolitans who were present at the consecration of the Patriarch Israel in 961. The Metropolitan Yohanan of Hulwan, probably the same man, was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Mari on 10 April 987. The Metropolitan Ishodad of Hulwan was one of only 2 metropolitans present at the consecration of the Patriarch Emmanuel I on 23 February 938, because many metropolitans objected. The Metropolitan Mari of Fars, originally Bishop of Dinawar, was metropolitan in the city of Hulwan when Eliabar Shana completed his chronography in 1018/19. The Metropolitan Abd al-Masi of Hulwan and Ray was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Abdasho II in 1074, and died at an unknown date during his reign. The Metropolitan Yohanan of Hulwan was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Makikarai in 1092. The Metropolitan Yohanan of Hulwan, possibly the same man, was present at the consecration of the Patriarch Eliatu in 1111. The Patriarch Eliatu transferred an unnamed Metropolitan of Hulwan to the Metropolitan Diocese of Egypt. The Diocese of Beth Madai. The Bishop Abraham of Madai was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Acacius in 486. The Bishop Babai of Madai was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Babai in 497. The Bishop Acacius of Madai was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Joseph in 554, and the Bishop Oban of Hamadan adhered by letter to the Acts of the same synod. The Bishop Yazdquast of Beth Madai was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Gregory in 605. The Bishop Abraham of Hamadan was transferred to the Diocese of Kashgar by the Patriarch Abdashoi. He was deposed and excommunicated for 7 years for misbehavior, and was eventually restored to his old diocese at the request of the Nestorians of Hamadan. The Diocese of Mesopotamian. The Bishop Denner of Mesopotamian was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Joseph in 554. The Bishop Shuba of Mesopotamian was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Ezekiel in 576. The Diocese of Dinawar. The Bishop Mari of Fars, Metropolitan of Hulwan when Eliabar Shana completed his chronography in 1018/19, was formerly Bishop of Dinawar. The Diocese of Nihawand. The Bishop Sabrisho of Nihawand was among the signatories of the Acts of the Synod of Timothy I in 790.